Welcome to Home Dad Chat, brought to you by the National At-Home Dad Network. My name is Brock,
My name is Danny.
and we are here to talk about life as stay-at-home dads. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
No, I don't want much. I even love handmade crafts made of macaroni. Come on now, you should know me. Times I might eat too much. No worry about my weight, got the dad bod rocking on me. Sketches on my feet, cargo shorts look good on me. I'm a dad, that's what I do.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Home Dad Chat. Danny and I, we've been actually just kind of chatting away here for about the past half hour before we even hit the record button, just talking about the day and other fun things that have been going on. But I hope you guys all, you guys, gals, enjoyed the podcast episode from last week. If you're just joining us, you haven't heard it. Danny and I's wives came on and talked about just how to have a conversation about, getting a break and things like that. And I think that tonight's episode will just really flow right into it because we're going to discuss self-care tonight. Danny's really excited about it. He actually presented at HomeDadCon at home. He did a breakout session on self-care, and I've been a big proponent myself of just trying to be aware of needing to find that time for self-care. So that's what we're going to be discussing, and I'm looking forward to it. So sit back and just enjoy the conversation, and then feel free to comment to us either as you hear it if you're watching on YouTube, or send us a message on Anchor FM later on. So Danny, how's your day been today?
It's been great. I've had a really good day. I won't say it's the most productive day I've ever had, but we are rolling into the final week before winter break, and the kids are all excited. They're doing neat little projects every day at school, and the kids come in with, especially the smaller kids, 6 and 7-year-olds come in with, oh, look what I made with a paper towel roll and some pipe cleaners or whatever. So it's been great. It's been really a nice day of them basically taking trash and coloring it and trying to put it on my Christmas tree. How about you?
Nice. Yeah. Honestly, I think the best way to describe it was me walking through a jungle with a machete.
Oh.
It was mentally draining, and I didn't really do a whole lot physically, but it was just one of those mental knockdown, drag out kind of days, and didn't end well either. As I was talking to you earlier about it, had a bit of a incident with my son, and just for a 7-year-old, finding a way to lie without actually saying a lie, and sneaking some food into a trash can to say that he was done eating while I was busy taking care of something else, and trying to have that conversation. And I was so angry, and instead of losing my proverbial crap, I decided to just say, hey, we're going to table this conversation for tomorrow, and you're going to go to bed without getting to do the things that you normally do, and we'll come back to it. And I feel I feel good about that, but at the same time, like I was telling you, I was kind of beating myself up. So just as a, feeling kind of not parentally worthy in some ways, that I had done something wrong, but I know that's not the case. Is mentally, I think we all kind of throw to the negative.
Oh, absolutely.
Conversation with my wife for a few minutes, just to kind of hash it out a little bit and get some things put together, and get some positivity put back in there. And just talking to you before jumping on and hitting record, I think really it kind of helped give some clarity. So I mean, if you don't have people to talk to you about that, I would imagine it would be much more difficult, but I'm really appreciative of having folks to be able to bounce ideas off
and
of.
Talking about self-care tonight, for me, and I think for a lot of us, having someone to talk to, find somebody to talk to, not just for the extroverts in me who I have to talk all the time, but just having somebody that understands. And we've talked about that in the past, about how the convention works, that it's just such a good place to go where you can find your tribe, you can find your brotherhood and fatherhood kind of thing. And having that and being here for me as well is self-care. And we need that, because it's just, even on a regular year, it would be stressful. Even on a regular year, it would be insane some days. So absolutely happy to be here, and definitely self-care for me too.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like, so self-care, there are so many different things that fall into that bucket, that category. Earlier today, I'd seen where you posted asking guys like what they were doing with self-care with the holidays and things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
man, it was a broad stroke of paint of just guys coming up with all kinds of different things that they enjoy doing for self-care, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
even some guys who were honest and said like, self-care, what's that? Like, and
Yeah.
it was a jokey sort of comment, but there's some seriousness to that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the guy in particular was just kind of like, I don't even know how to even kind
Mm-hmm.
of go through what that it would even look like. And so I felt like that was a really honest answer, because he apologized and said, you know, I probably should have just scrolled down. I'm like, no, you're fine. Like he was, you know,
Mm-hmm.
there was some joke to it, but I think when you joke, sometimes there's actual seriousness in the
Mm-hmm.
fact that there's that. So,
Yeah.
um,
Using
yeah,
that
but I
humor.
mean, it was cool. Like, I mean, just looking at the article, you have guys sitting around the campfire enjoying a cigar, maybe some whiskey or a beer.
That's
You know,
perfect.
yeah.
That's the only self-care that counts. I'm just saying.
Well, in this guy in particular, I mean, you know, in a safe social distancing way, and I've done this before, he invited his best friend over and they sat there and chatted. I mean, and that's something that's possible to do. And he lives down in Texas, so I feel very jealous because probably a little bit warmer than it is up here. Uh, so that would be a little difficult right now. It'd really need a big fire to stay warm.
Yeah, you have to set two, one behind you and one in front of you, and try to hover in the middle and not freeze.
Right, and have maybe like the hot packs in your hands and on your feet just to stay warm the rest of the way. But yeah, I mean, there are guys that they, you know, one guy was saying he got to go do a senior or college senior photo shoot, and it was cool because he said that he got done and his wife was like, just stay out, you know, and I've got this. The boys are virtual learning, so you know, go enjoy
Yeah.
the day. And it was just like, man, like that's probably, if not one of the greatest gifts to get.
It's just
It's got to be up there.
Yeah. And we
Yeah.
talked about well, we talked about last week about just getting time by yourself. Like if you're on a commute, I'm commuting, I'm driving to work or whatever. Wow.
Yeah.
Like by yourself, like all by yourself. Did you bring snacks for other people or water or whatever else? No. Did you make sure everybody went potty for you? You didn't. You just walked out the door, you know. But a big part of it too is we spend so much of our day, so much of our time, so much of our energy, too much at times, taking care of other people. I mean, that's our job description for most of us, for those of us that are, you know, full time on this, especially. But even if you're just parenting and you do, you know, you have a job outside the home, parenting, and I said this, and I hate to keep circling back to this same word, but parenting is relentless. It is a 24/7 job. And if you're not, I mean, the thing about putting on your own oxygen mask in a plane before you try to put that on your, you know, on your child or whatever, someone in your care, and it falls right into that. Because you have a bucket, you keep taking out of that bucket's empty. You have nothing left to give. You can't take care of people. And it's so important. And whatever it is, you know.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too. Like, I mean, so like we said, that, you know, there's the brotherhood of fatherhood within this organization. And I think that it really shows in different ways. Like you get guys who they're like, hey, like I play this video game. Does anybody else play this video game? Like, let's get together. And it's such the like college thing in a way. I feel like I remember sitting in my dorm room playing Halo 1, 2, and 3. And
Nice.
you know, Halo 1 was funny because they didn't have the headset at that time. So when you played, like we had to have our doors open and everybody was like yelling down the hallway and stuff.
Yep.
And then 2, they finally got like headsets and you could chit chat back and forth and set things up. But you know, like the way the internet is now, I mean, you can go to town having, you know, a party with everybody. And so I think it's cool. You see guys in here, like, you know, talking about that. There was guys talking about like they do flight simulators. I know this guy in particular, he's always posting about where he's doing his flight simulators. I think one of the other ones that's really neat, and this is one that one of the dads started up in the group a while back here, was a book club.
Oh, yeah.
And when you think book club, you typically think, oh, the women are just the ones doing book clubs. But I mean, this guy, he's really taken it to like a whole new level. It's funny because I believe his post, he uses the Fight Club,
Yes, he does. Yeah.
and takes out the fight and puts it in book club.
Yep.
And I just think it's neat because here you got a group of guys all over the country,
Mhm.
and they're reading one singular book, and they're meeting once a week or maybe once a month, whatever it is. And
Yeah, I think it's twice a month usually.
yeah,
And-
twice a month.
And I've
Yeah.
been in it since it started, but I've only been
Oh, cool.
to one meeting, maybe. So I'm awful. And I like, because I love to read, and they've done some amazing books, and just things that I really like. Not the one they're doing now, but the one previously that I just finished up was 1984. By
Oh,
Orson
cool.
Welles, and it was just like, yeah, I read that in. I don't want to say when I read that. It was a long time ago. And getting back into it and reading it. And I will say, just having the option of being able to talk to other people about the book that you read, especially the first one that he chose, and I don't remember the name of it. That's sad.
It's the Catherine Perlman book. It was Ignore It. Wasn't that the first one?
That wasn't the first one. The first one was
Oh.
about it was a very technical book in a way. I mean, it wasn't like terribly difficult, but it was absolutely a research type of book on our prejudices and its blindness, or your blind spot, the blind spot. That's what it is. It's called The Blind Spot. And it was, and I'm saying that so positively, and watch me be wrong with such confidence. I'm wrong, but I think it was I'm almost positive it was The Blind Spot, but it was really, really good. And it was really good. Now he mentions it for his self-care. And I think that is an amazing thing, because a lot of people, especially for us, full-time at-home parents, our self-care usually revolves around time alone. Just, I don't want to do anything with anybody. I just want to be by myself, because we don't have that. We miss that so much, and you don't have time to even breathe, So like you and I doing this podcast, it's definitely self-care for me. It definitely makes me better, recharges me. And for him, the book club is, and having that as his a safe harbor almost of, I'm going to go to book club and talk about, the books that we've read, and doing some amazing work as far as growing a group. I don't want to say his name. Should we say his name? I'd like to say his name, because he's
say his name. Why not?
Kyle Denny.
Denny. Yep.
Yeah.
He's also just to give a little bit of extra plug. So Kyle Denny, if you live in the Denver area, is the City Dads organizer for the Denver Dads group.
That makes perfect sense. He's also a runner.
Oh my gosh. He is.
My goal for HomeDadCon 2020, which of course didn't come to fruition because of things, but maybe for 2021 we'll see, is to run every morning with Kyle. And that was because last year, and I think in Orlando as well, he'd get up every morning and go run.
I know one run that everybody's going to want to do for that.
Yeah, the pig. What is it?
No, not the pig. That's a different thing. One run that we're looking into doing is a donut run, because there's a donut shop on the other end of the town, and it's we basically are working into doing like a 5K with it to get out there.
Nice.
So that's when everybody
carbs back and
go get a donut and run back to the hotel, or come back to the hotel.
Yeah. That sounds awesome.
So I mean, there's all like so many different things for self-care for sure. I saw where guys, definitely running's a big one. Like I said, there was the one guy who was like, self-care, what's that? And podcasting, Legos, guys are building Legos with their kids, or maybe they're taking time to actually just do their own big set of Legos. Just there's so much out there. I know I see one guy in particular who he loves vinyl records, and he's really big on music. And I love being his friend on Facebook outside of the group, because I get to see all of the music that he listens to. And even though like we've not really hung out much, like we would definitely be like very good to just sit in a coffee shop and enjoy a nice, espresso, and just listen to, Nirvana on vinyl or something. Be very happy with
Nice.
that. But yeah, I mean, just there's so many things that you see. Of course, you get guys too that are like self-care is laundry and dishes and a 30 pack of hams. But which I think was a great comment. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
some guys, they get to live in a state where it's legal to actually smoke weed, and that's another good one. Get guys that are doing meditation or yoga.
Mm-hmm.
A couple guys said they play golf. One guy gets to go skiing every Sunday while his kids are doing their skiing. He gets to enjoy just time skiing, maybe around friends and stuff. So, like you said, I think it really comes down to what is it that's going to fill your bucket, and finding that thing, whatever it is, and then it's having that conversation like we had last week with our wives, talking about how do you get that time, how do you carve it out, and what does it look like? Because it's not like you can just be like, I got to have it now. And the other person's like, well, wait a minute. Like, how do we do that? Like, we got these things to do.
Yeah. Don't wait until you're blowing up, until you've had it and you've lost all of your, poop, like you said earlier. Don't wait until then. Find that time, make that time, schedule that time. Ahead of it. So
like I said, you ran the breakout session on self-care. I was running all the behind the scenes with other guys for that day. And so there are things that I never even got to experience at DadCon, which is one of the, interesting parts of being a board member, plus also being the chair for HomeDadCon now 2 years in a row, which is interesting in its own self. But I kind of want to give you the floor. You don't have to give the whole, the whole conversation, because I think we need a micro bit of it. But what kind of things do you want to share tonight with the listeners about self-care that are kind of like I'd say put it into like 3 to 5 points that are good bullet points?
Probably, yeah, I can do that. I can be succinct if I have to, I'd rather talk for an hour, but no, just to boil it down as quick as I can, I want to say, for my own part, I started self-care just in the last year or so. And my therapist looked at, so it was over a year because we were in person at the time, before COVID, pre-COVID, PC. And she looked at me and she said, so what are you doing for self-care this week? And I went, for what? And I don't know what that was. I had no idea that it was a thing, because taking care of myself was not anything that I wanted to do. And the first few things that I did, and like going to the convention, we spoke about that last week. Great. My wife wanted me to go. My family wanted me to go. And I felt, am I leaving you? I'm supposed to do all these things. Why am I not doing all these things? So I think the first thing that for most people, and maybe not, but one of the things, at least of the top 5, is to understand that you need this as a part of your way to take care of yourself so you can take care of others. That's just a very plain and simple point. The second thing is what we've been talking about, is what is self-care. It can be almost any activity or lack of activity. You can just sit and meditate for 5 minutes in the morning, or pray 5 minutes in the morning, whatever you do, and just take that time. Deep breaths, recharge, and get back, just do a quick reset. Sometimes it takes an hour, but whatever time it takes. So the activity itself doesn't necessarily matter, as more why you're doing it. Hiking is a great example. People get outside, you get out to nature, you get out and it's quieter, you get away from all your distractions, and you just have time just to push yourself physically. And that's always a good thing for self-care.
I would say my favorite thing is going hiking and taking photos with my camera phone. I mean, because of course cameras on phones these days are amazing, but I love going out and capturing something that might have been like a one-time possibility. And so I couldn't agree more. That's a big one for me.
Yeah. And and whatever you do in hiking, as the example, let's say, well, if you take your kids with you and you go on a nature hike, that's not self-care. It doesn't matter how beneficial it is for them. It doesn't matter how many teaching moments you get. It doesn't matter how many great habits you instill in them, or how much time they spend with you, which of course, time with your kids is probably the most important thing. That is not self-care, because throughout that entire time, even if your kids are, teenagers are able to take care of themselves. You don't have to bring their snacks or a diaper or whatever else. I don't know if snacks and drinks ever stop being a thing you have to do for your kids, but even if they're all self-sufficient, even if it's your wife, even, or your spouse, I should say, that you take with you, if you take your spouse and they are perfectly capable, 100% competent person, it's still someone else you're taking care of. Now, you can get self-care with another person, but it shouldn't be anyone in that circle of provision that you have. The people that you have around you for self-care, it's fine. You go hang out with a bunch of people, hang out with your best friend or whatever, but not the people that you are taking care of every day. That's a very important distinction.
Now,
you don't have to be alone.
Now, I think for me though, like, I don't know, I think I'm going to rub on you a little this one, like abrasively, but I think for me, like, I don't know that I fully agree with that completely. And oh no, we're having a disagreement. The first one on the podcast.
Man, put one little beer in you and you're like fighting.
I know, it's right now. This is a baby beer. This is nothing. Anyway.
Sure.
But the thing with it is though, is when my wife and I get together, like, yes, okay, I get what you're saying about like the self-care part of it. But sometimes for me, like, I find that getting time with my wife is self-care. Because it plays a dual factor for me. Like, it's self-care for me and it's self-care for us. And so I don't know how that plays into what you're talking about, but maybe a little bit, but I believe that there is a way to do that. Like, because yes, if you're out with your kids, self-care is not going to be, you can't focus on yourself. Like, yeah, makes sense, right? Because you're worried about little Johnny gonna maybe fall over the side of like the trail or something crazy like that. Whereas I don't really worry too much about that if I'm out with my spouse. Like, I feel pretty confident they're not gonna like fall off the trail. But at the same time, like, I can focus on myself, and even to the point where, if I'm saying like, hey, I'm going to hike ahead, or you go ahead, like, I'm going to check, I'm just going to kind of come back and we'll meet up kind of thing. Like, sometimes that happens when we're out hiking or doing things. But so that's kind of, I guess, where I'm at with that. Like, I like what you're saying, but I think some people might also even be disagreeing with, like, wait a minute, like, I actually enjoy time with my spouse, like, and I can see the benefits in that. So
I understand.
But yeah, so that's my little,
I get that
side follow of that.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with you being wrong. It's cool.
No. And now the gloves are really off, folks.
You can, I would say, recharge when you're with your spouse, especially if they are, if you do have that, excellent relationship, you have a good relationship and they can be there. So sure, I could agree with that, you're right in that. Sincerely, it's not only, or doesn't have to only be about you being solo.
Sure.
But, for a lot of us, and I will say my wife makes jokes about her being the fifth kid that I have to take care of.
Yeah, she made that on the podcast last week. I remember hearing her say that.
She's a very competent, very capable person. But there are reasons why I'm the stay-at-home parent and she's the go to work, outside of the home parent.
Yeah.
Her business acumen is a million times better than mine. It's just, I'm awful. I would run a business into the ground. I'm terrible in management. I'm terrible in anything to do with business. I'm going to fail you. So, and budget as well. But so, all right. So we've talked about then, that self-care can be just about anything.
Yeah.
That self-care should be about you. If you're getting recharged by it, then that's cool. If it's with your spouse and, perhaps with your kids when they're older, they can bring that. But the focus, I think, needs to be, are you getting recharged? Are you getting your energy back? Are you feeling relaxed like you should?
Right. And that's so
a little more.
So the guys who sit and play video games for hours, or the guys who binge watch shows for hours, which I'm guilty of too. I personally, I don't feel like recharged. It's nice to get the time to be able to sit and watch a movie or watch multiple shows of something that you're like, I love this series and I enjoy watching it. My wife hates it because it just doesn't fit into her wheelhouse of things, but this is what I like. I'm that kind of deal. I like scary stuff too. So like, I like to watch some of that thing. And she's like, no way, it's you, go watch it. But
Yeah.
I have a hard time like saying that that's self-care in a way. And I'm not saying that to like demeanor anybody else, but to me, like, I feel like, yeah, there's a place to sit quiet or go do something and like recharge. How do you see that working as far as?
It's not self-care for you.
Right. Okay. That's a
All
good
right.
way
And
to put
that's
it.
the thing. That's exactly it. It's like with most things that we do in life, you don't have I'll use my wife again as an example. My wife is not perfect, but my wife is perfect for me.
Yep.
All right. She may, offend every other single person on every other human being on the earth. She's always just made my heart go pitter patter, and she always will. She's perfect for me, even though there are people in the world that may hate her. Same thing with whatever you might list. Playing golf was something we talked about. I couldn't get any self-care out of playing golf. I don't like sports. I don't like doing things with sports. I'm just not a sports person. If we want to go like yoga or exercise, go to the gym, go hike, go maybe canoeing or something like that. Yeah, let's do physical activity.
Heck yeah.
But a sport for me was never put forth in my life as something at all. I mean, we never did any sports. We didn't watch it. We didn't play it. We didn't have anything. And even today, like watching soccer with my wife, I will get excited with her because she enjoys it more when I'm excited with her. And when I look at the screen and go, oh, come on, ref, what are you doing? And I don't know what I'm talking about.
Wait, does she yell at you when you yell at the refs? Like, they can't hear you. Why are you yelling at them?
Oh no. My,
because my wife does.
And her family. Oh no. My wife and her family are sports people.
Oh, okay.
And I mean that in the nicest way possible. It's not a bad thing, but I made the almost cardinal sin of standing in front of my mother-in-law when she was in the kitchen, and I walked up behind the couch, and the ball game when baseball was playing, and it was the Minnesota Twins, I think at the time, and it was between me and her, and I walked in front of her, and I could feel her stiffen up behind me, like, but she was very kind about it, like, something to the effect of, you need to move or I'll kill you. No, but she was very nice about it.
Minnesota Twins,
my
I need to see Kirby Puckett at the plate. You need to move.
You need to get out of the way. They listen to it on the radio when we drive around. Her mom had her own radio, or was part of a radio show for a very, very long time up in the town that they lived in, about sports, all about sports.
Wow.
Her mom and her dad both, I think, have a degree in physical fitness. And my wife played soccer all the way up through college, Division A soccer all the way up into college.
Wow.
So yeah, and soccer and softball, I think, at the same time. And so yeah, and they were big soccer family, big.
So you
sports
get
family,
you get away with yelling at the TV. That's nice. I wish
I
I could do that and not be ridiculed at the same time, because I grew up in a house where, like, I would watch the Indiana Hoosiers play basketball and I would be screaming at the TV like I was Bobby Knight. So whenever I do that here at the house, my wife looks at me like I'm a complete lunatic. And it's really funny, but yeah. So that's really cool. Well, I'm glad you get to do it.
Yeah. And well, it's a different thing for everybody, but getting back to the point, in that way, I'm not perfect for my wife. I don't know what's going on in sports. I don't know what, I'm learning, and I know when to yell at the right times and what have you. And I'm still perfect for her because I'm willing to learn that, right? So when it comes to self-care, what is self-care? Anybody can name anything, and there's going to be people that it doesn't apply to.
Yeah.
If it's anything we listed, building a fire, having a beer, smoking a cigar, gaming, book club, running, smoking meat. We haven't talked about that.
Oh, that's right.
It was a big one. Yoga, just time away. Just let me have some time out of the house. Yeah. Hiking, and all of these things can absolutely be self-care, and can absolutely not be self-care, depending on who you are. Again, it's if you get recharged by it.
Yeah. I would say the biggest thing that I get recharged by, I think, and we were talking about this, is just being around other people. Like you're talking about being an extrovert. Yeah. Things like this, being able to talk to people through the podcasts, whether it's this one or the one that I do aside from this. And then also too, like hosting the dad hangout on Monday nights and getting like multiple guys from all over the country on Zoom and just talking. it's fun. I mean, just, yeah. So
Yeah.
stuff like that is always good. Or, you know, when there's not this crazy, like, don't go near anybody because they might, you know, bring you the plague.
The plague.
Uh,
Yeah.
you know, you got going out to do different things as well. And, you know, I think up
Mhm.
until the point of when everybody was told to stay home, we were out bowling every week.
Mhm.
We did it one night, and one of the guys was like, "This is awesome. Like, I don't want to just do this once a month. Like, let's do this every week." And so the guy was just like, "I'll just set
Cool.
it up." And so he just basically every week he's like, "I'll be here at this time, show up." And there'd be 6 to 8 guys that would go out and go bowling and eat pizza and
Nice.
drink beer and just talk about stuff. And I'd show up. I showed up the last one. I didn't bowl. I didn't
Mhm.
drink. I actually, sorry, I had one beer, right? And had some pizza, and I didn't bowl. And I just sat there and I just talked with everybody. And
Yeah.
it was great.
Mhm.
And I think that sometimes, you know, you get invited to stuff like that and you're like, I'm not, like, hey, let's go to Top Golf. I don't golf. It's like, fine,
Yeah.
go sit and just chat with everybody else. I mean, they're
Yeah.
up for like 30 seconds to hit a ball and they're back down and sitting. It's like, you got all that time to just talk. So yeah,
Mhm.
stuff like that, I really get a charge out of. So
Mhm. And that's it. Again, it's just what you find. It's the thing you go to. And I think more important, and what I think I hear most people talking about as far as, you know, at home dads and what have you, is what do I do? I don't know what to do. And
yeah,
then how do I get the time? And
yeah,
this absolutely ties in with last week. And I want to say that it's got to be a determined, scheduled, dedicated, this is it.
yep,
On Wednesday nights, I'm going bowling with the guys.
yep,
I'm going to leave at 6:02 and I'm going to be gone until 10:30 or something. And I'm going to come back smelling like pizza and beer, you know, or whatever it is.
yep.
But you
And unless
have to make a schedule,
and unless the house is burning down,
right? Yes.
don't text me. Like,
Yeah.
I think
Don't worry.
that was, I think, the one thing we didn't really discuss last week was the idea that when you're out, unless it's like some serious dire emergency,
Hmm.
like, you know, there's no reason to text when you coming home. You know, if you've
Yeah.
set that time up, you know, that's the only thing. Like, if it goes past that time, like, hey, like, everything okay? You know,
Right. Yeah.
that kind of
Communicate.
deal. And
Always communicate.
and that was the thing that we didn't, like I said, we didn't talk about it, but definitely Corey and I had that conversation one time because she was texting me one time when we were out, and I was just like, you gotta stop. Like,
Yeah.
it just makes me think like you're just sitting on my shoulder, like nagging me home. And it's like, I know that's not what you're doing, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. But I'm
frustrating.
trying to
So
get away from all of that,
yeah.
you know, stuff.
And so, yeah,
And
having that line of communication where it's like, this is dedicated time and
mhm.
it's me time. Like,
Right.
and I'll come
It's
back to you.
absolutely
I'll come back to
right.
you and I'll have more energy and more like attention for you, that kind of
Yes.
thing. But I need this time. And it
Yeah.
goes both ways. I mean, whenever she
Mhm.
goes away to do stuff, like, I don't text her. Heck, there's times where I don't even ask her when she's coming back, because honestly, like, I know she's going to come back, but
Yeah.
I don't even want to give her an end time. Like,
Mhm.
you know, if
Go enjoy yourself.
go
And
enjoy yourself until
we're all good here.
yeah,
Yeah.
when you're spent hanging out with them and you're done, I know you're coming home, and I typically will be up. If not, I'll text you and say I'm going to bed. You know,
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, whatever it is.
Come in quietly. Don't wake me up.
Yeah, well, I don't mind if she wakes
Or
me
do
up.
wake me up. Whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
Sometimes it leads to
Well,
good things when they wake you up.
So yeah, right. So the other part of it then is, and I think it's probably my last part of it, is how much time. Because we just talked about, well, I leave at 6 and I come back at 10. And I know there are people that, you know, that just go, what, 4 hours? That's not going to happen. And it's not. And for a lot of us, it won't.
Yeah.
And even, you know, it doesn't matter how many kids you have. It's just a matter of the fact that, and this is something I take a little pride in, but as the primary caretaker, I am very valuable at the house. There's so much that I take care of, so much that I do. There's no reason for me to be, you know, to take, you know, hours and hours and hours away. And that's understandable.
Yeah.
But take 10 minutes a day. Take 10 minutes once a week if you have to, but find a time, make the time, put it on the schedule, let your family know. And sometimes that's letting the kids know as well. Sometimes it's just letting your spouse know, to say, this is where I'm going to be. This is what I'm going to do. I just need 5 minutes every Monday morning just to go stand on the porch and breathe in the air and just listen to nothing. And then I'm going to reset and come back in.
Yeah.
Because you're taking care of yourself. It's just as important, in my opinion, as getting your physical every year, getting your eyes checked, going to the dentist. These are things that you need to do to get yourself back in working order.
Yeah.
Just general maintenance.
Well,
so even if it's just 5 minutes, do it, take it, and then see if you can make it 10.
Yeah.
See if, hey, you guys live 5 minutes without me. Can you live 10? Let's see. And then maybe you'll get to 3 hours.
Can I walk down to the coffee shop and get a coffee that's going to be warm the whole time and drink it warm all the way?
I can actually drink it and it'll be warm all the way
I don't
through.
have to sit it down because some crying kid is like pulling me away from it, kind of deal. Yeah, I think that's the thing. Well, and two, like, I mean, this was the first year I bought a fishing license because we live really close to a river and a couple different little ponds. And it was like, I can get to those in like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe drive, set up,
nice,
and get that like hour to maybe fish type of deal. And, you know, man, I never caught much of anything when I went out, but just the whole like excitement of like, maybe I can do this but just casting and enjoying it. And, you know, everything else around was the same thing as being quiet and kind of in that serene space. So I think that's another thing too. Like, you know, you think about like, oh, can I go fishing in that time? It's like, if you plan it out enough, you can totally like set everything up, pole and tackle box in the car. Like you're ready to go. Hey, tag, I'm out. Boom. I'm in the car, on your way type of deal. It's totally doable. Like it really does come down to planning and executing it. And it might not work every time. You know, maybe you make it to the pond and you're like, screw it, I don't even want to get out of the car at this point.
I'm just going to sit in the car.
I'm just going to sit in the car. You know what? I guarantee you're not the only one. There are stay-at-home moms that do the exact same thing. They, you know, like I was looking at what was it, Instagram? Like they've got the Instagram reels and people do TikTok or whatever, and you see people on there all the time. Like especially the moms are constantly like kind of complaining, you know, like they're not getting time away and stuff. And I know that a lot of it is joking, but there's some seriousness to it. And my thought every time I see that is like, man, I really do hope that their spouse is not like that. You know, when they post something like, you know, working spouse came home and was like, I need to go lay down and relax. And it was like, what? Like, do you not see what I've been doing all day? You know, but I think that, you know, that shoe falls on the other foot just as much for stay-at-home dads, you know? And so the whole concept of just, you've got to balance it out and you've got to have that just understanding and agreement of things. So to be able to get the self-care you need, both for working parents and for stay-at-home parents, like, because they need it just as much, you know? And
absolutely.
So you've got to find that balance. Like, I love that your wife was talking about how her mom had a dedicated Wednesday night for bowling. I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, right.
I thought that was so cool.
She's my inspiration. I tell you, I've had that in my head ever since that self-care was brought up to me. I'm like, well, because Marnie's mom would go every week and that was her self-care. That was her thing. That was, you know, that was what she did. And there was no one messed with it. It didn't change. Didn't care what the weather was. I'm gone. And it's really important. And again, talking with your spouse and letting them know, look, I'm burning out. And while people may not understand that, I mean, again, we get you just stay home all day. How can you be tired? What are you talking about? Yeah. All you do is go sit at a desk all day. Why are you tired?
Yeah.
You're tired because it's a whole day of stuff,
that's
you know,
a great comeback.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of things people do that shouldn't make them tired, but you do it for 8 hours. And for us, I mean, my day starts at 5:30. And that's if everybody slept through the night and nobody got sick.
Right.
And my day ends hopefully by 9-ish so that I can get, you know, a few, you know, 8 hours of sleep and uninterrupted. But really we're 24/7 when we have children under the age, I think, of 6. I think by 6, 7, they're starting to get to the point where they learn to sleep through the nights. They don't wake up, you know, nightmares or anything like that. They leave you alone. They don't get up way, way early or anything like that. But our job is constant. It's relentless. It just doesn't stop.
Yeah.
But in the other way, like my wife would go, I don't know, 6:30 to 2:30, and she'd be home by 3:30 or 4, something like that. That's a long day.
Yeah.
And granted, she just spent the day, on the phone or on the computer, sitting, at a desk. How can you be tired? Oh, you're absolutely tired. So people that don't get how tiring it can be, or a spouse that doesn't understand, hopefully can be, you can communicate with them and help them come around to it and say, well, this is where I'm at. This is what I need. I love you. I would give you what you need. I need you to give me this, this is where I'm at. So,
Definitely.
and whatever, again, that time, if it's 10 minutes, take it, make that every day if you can.
Yeah.
But
I think I think
week.
it's as simple too as, when the working parent comes home, whether
Mm-hmm.
that's coming out of their office here at the house, or whether that truly is they went to a physical place and came back. I think that even just setting up a daily, like, I am going to take 15 minutes and go for a walk, get out of, just to get out and not have like sound, like just, I don't know, like, not sound, what I'm looking for, like just a constant, like, vibration in my ear of children's voices or whatever, to be able to just, have a moment to clear things out. And, there's going to be some give and take to how that works out. But if you can do that, and the working parent can give you that moment to do that, you both come back together, and one, they get a chance to kind of see, like, or even just spend time with the kids on their own, because I guarantee your kids want time alone with the other parent.
Yes.
And sometimes they'll verbalize it, and sometimes they won't verbalize it. And I think sometimes the other parent needs to just see, like, oh man, like, I either want that time or they need that time, and I need to give that to them. And so being able to just say, like, hey, I'm going to go do this, enjoy the kids for just a little bit, and take that time to come back and be like, all right, like, I'm here, like, let's do this. Oh, it's kind of crazy right now. Great. Walking back into what I was already at, but at the same time, like, we're here together. We can tackle this together, kind of deal. And
you've got your energy back
right
to take it okay. Yeah. Well, he's on fire and she's soaking wet. Let's put them together and fix it. Whatever you got to do.
Exactly. So yeah, I think that those kind of techniques and tactics are just necessary, and you got to figure out a way to implement them for the sanity of yourself and for the sanity of your relationship with your spouse.
Yes.
So
here.
Was that 4 points or 5? I lost track.
Well, I don't know. I didn't make a list. I didn't know I needed a list or anything.
You're fine,
5 points. So yeah, it's as close as we need to get. Hopefully nobody was expecting a really coherent, here's 5 things you can do.
No, it's good.
You only said 4.
Oh, well.
Or you said 9. Danny never shut up.
But I think that, a lot of good points were made there. And I feel like hopefully those who are listening feel maybe a little more confident in the kind of things that they can do for self-care for themselves. And hopefully, like I said, if this is something where, like, oh, self-care, I didn't really know what that even looked like or how to function that way, and you've listened to this whole thing, and now you're like, great, how do I talk to my spouse about this? Listen to the podcast before this. Listen to episode 5, because in that one, it's Danny and I's wives, all of us talking together and really discussing how we came to understand, like, the necessary reasons for why the self-care break needs to happen. And then on a elongated point of that, with this being part of the National At-Home Dad Network, once a year, there is an event that's held annually called HomeDadCon. And sometimes the working spouse is off doing business trips. Sometimes they don't. It just depends on what it is. But the way to look at going to HomeDadCon, and we talked about this in the last episode, is that it's a professional career builder for stay-at-home dads. It's got a bit of a retreat to it in its own feeling, and it's a lot of fun. But there's a lot of different things that as a dad you wouldn't get if you didn't go to this. And
Yes.
if that's something that you're more curious about, wanting to find out about, and it is a great self-care weekend, honestly, in a lot of ways, because you get to eat hot food and have lots and lots of adult conversations. I always go
Don't
back
have to share your food.
Yeah, I always go back to the hot food part of things. You know, you can go walk the streets with other adults and enjoy a city, but check out At Home Dad. Or sorry, my bad. That's the other one. AtHomeDad.org is the national At Home Dad page. If you go to HomeDadCon.org, you'll see where there's information on registering to come to the event. There's also a scholarship link there to be able to get a scholarship to be able to come if that's something that's there's a financial difficulty. We want to help you out, but Danny could talk a long time about that. It's one of his
Oh yeah,
one of his big talking points.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think we just want to encourage everybody, and Danny's done a little bit already, but we just want to encourage you all to find that time for yourself, find the self-care.
Yep. Take care of yourself, guys. Really, you need it. Your family needs you to do it. I mean, it's not selfish. It's not a negative thing in any way. Take that time, a 20-minute shower. Tell your spouse, hey, watch everything. I'm just going to go stand in the hot water, or whatever you want to call it, whatever, but stand in the hot water and just not think about anything for 20 minutes. Give me 20 minutes and then I'll be out and refreshed and ready to go. Find that time, guys. Really, we need that.
Definitely. I agree. I think it's a great way to put the end on this episode. So we appreciate everybody who tuned in to listen today, and we hope that it was beneficial for you, and look forward to bringing you some more content. It's starting to get cold out there. It's the winter months, and winter breaks coming along. So we've got a few weeks where don't have school, and it's like, what are we going to do? So I think coming up here next episode, you'll probably be hearing some ideas on what to do in these cold months coming up. And so tune into that, and we'll see you if you're on YouTube, and you can hear us if you're listening on Anchor or any other of the podcast platforms next time.
Bye-bye.